Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into something a little intense. We're going to explore the evolution of apocalyptic thinking. Now, before you imagine mushroom clouds and zombies, though we might touch on those later, let's define our terms. An apocalypse, at its core, isn't just about destruction. It's about asterisk revelation. It's about an unveiling of truth, a dramatic shift from one reality to another. Think of it as the ultimate plot twist in the story of humanity. And for millennia, humans have been imagining, predicting, and preparing for these plot twists. If you're finding this intriguing, please hit that like button. It tells me you're interested in these kinds of deep dives. Let me know in the comments, what is the first end-of-the-world scenario that you remember hearing about? Our journey begins in the ancient world. Civilizations like the Mesopotamians, Egyptians, and early Hebrews had their own versions of cosmic upheaval. These weren't always focused on total annihilation. Often they involved cycles of destruction and rebirth, floods sent by angry gods, or plagues that decimated populations. The important thing to note is that these were intertwined with their religious beliefs. The apocalypse was a divine punishment for human failings, a way to reset the moral compass. Think of the story of Noah's Ark, a classic example of cleansing the world to start anew. The book of Revelation in the New Testament is arguably the most influential apocalyptic text in Western culture. It's filled with vivid imagery, horsemen, angels, beasts, and a final battle between good and evil. This text shaped the understanding of the apocalypse for centuries. It introduced the idea of a final judgment, a heaven for the righteous and a hell for the wicked. It's a powerful narrative, full of symbolism that's been interpreted and reinterpreted countless times throughout history. It created a framework for thinking about the end times that still resonates today. Now, let's fast forward a bit. During the Middle Ages, apocalyptic anxieties intensified. The Black Death, famines, and constant warfare created a climate of fear and uncertainty. Many people believed that the end was nigh, that they were living in the last days foretold in Scripture. Millennial movements, groups who believed that Christ would return to rule for 1,000 years, gained popularity. These movements often led to social upheaval, as people sought to purify themselves and prepare for the coming kingdom. The Renaissance and the Reformation brought new ways of thinking, but apocalyptic ideas didn't disappear. Instead, they adapted. Some reformers interpreted the Catholic Church as the Whore of Babylon, mentioned in Revelation, seeing the Pope as the Antichrist. This fueled religious conflicts and shaped the political landscape. Even as scientific advancements began to challenge traditional beliefs, apocalyptic anxieties found new outlets. People simply reframed the traditional apocalyptic figures in new ways, reinterpreting their sacred texts. The Enlightenment, with its emphasis on reason and progress, might seem like the antithesis of apocalyptic thinking. However, even during this period, anxieties about societal collapse persisted. Thinkers like Thomas Malthus warned about the dangers of overpopulation and resource scarcity. While not strictly apocalyptic in a religious sense, these ideas reflected a fear that human progress could ultimately lead to our own downfall. It was an apocalypse fueled by science rather than religion. The Industrial Revolution brought unprecedented technological advancements, but it also created new anxieties. Environmental degradation, pollution, and social inequalities fueled fears about the unintended consequences of progress. The rise of science fiction in the 19th century provided a new medium for exploring these concerns. Authors like Mary Shelley, with Frankenstein, began to imagine dystopian futures shaped by technology gone awry. The 20th century was a particularly fertile ground for apocalyptic thinking. 2 world wars, the Holocaust, the Cold War, these events brought humanity to the brink of self-destruction. The threat of nuclear annihilation loomed large, shaping the popular imagination. Movies, books, and television shows explored the aftermath of nuclear war, depicting desolate landscapes and the struggle for survival. The idea of humanity wiping itself out became a very real possibility. The Cold War era saw the rise of the survivalist movement. People began building bunkers, stockpiling food and water, and preparing for a nuclear apocalypse. This wasn't just about personal survival, it was also about preserving a way of life, a belief in self-reliance and preparedness. The survivalist movement reflected a deep distrust of government and a desire to take control in the face of potential catastrophe. The end of the Cold War didn't eliminate apocalyptic anxieties, it simply shifted their focus. New threats emerged, including terrorism, climate change, and global pandemics. The 9/11 attacks, for example, triggered a wave of apocalyptic narratives, with some people interpreting the event as a sign of the end times. The narrative changed, but the fear remained. Climate change has become a dominant apocalyptic narrative in the 21st century. Scientists warn of rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and ecological collapse. These warnings have fueled a growing sense of urgency and a fear that humanity is on a path towards self-destruction. Climate change serves as a great real-world example, where religious roots are not needed to spark apocalyptic anxieties. Enjoying this journey through apocalyptic thought? Subscribe for more explorations of history and culture. And in the comments, tell me, what do you think is the most pressing threat to humanity today? Zombies. Of course, we have to talk about zombies. The zombie apocalypse has become a popular trope in modern fiction. While seemingly fantastical, zombie narratives often reflect deeper anxieties about societal breakdown, disease, and the loss of control. They allow us to explore our fears in a safe, fictional context. Think about it. Zombies are basically a stand-in for any uncontrollable threat that could overwhelm society. Beyond zombies, other apocalyptic scenarios abound in popular culture. We have alien invasions, asteroid impacts, supervolcano eruptions, and even artificial intelligence taking over the world. These narratives often serve as cautionary tales, warning us about the dangers of unchecked technological advancement or environmental degradation. They also provide a form of escapism, allowing us to imagine how we might cope in extreme circumstances. One interesting trend is the, quote, prepper movement, which has evolved beyond the Cold War survivalist mindset. Preppers prepare for a wide range of potential disasters, from economic collapse to natural disasters to societal unrest. They emphasize self-sufficiency, community building, and acquiring essential skills. Prepping can be seen as a pragmatic response to uncertainty, a way to regain control in a world that feels increasingly chaotic. The internet and social media have played a significant role in shaping contemporary apocalyptic thinking. Online communities provide spaces for people to share information, discuss their fears, and prepare for potential disasters. However, the internet can also amplify misinformation and conspiracy theories, contributing to a climate of anxiety and distrust. It's important to be critical of the information we consume online, especially when it comes to apocalyptic narratives. Conspiracy theories often intertwine with apocalyptic thinking. Ideas about secret societies, government cover-ups, and impending global catastrophes can fuel a sense of paranoia and distrust. Conspiracy theories provide a simple explanation for complex events, offering a sense of control in a world that feels unpredictable. However, they can also be incredibly harmful, leading to violence and social division. It's important to distinguish between apocalyptic narratives and actual scientific predictions. While scientists may warn about potential threats like climate change or pandemics, they do so based on evidence and data. Apocalyptic narratives, on the other hand, are often driven by fear, speculation, and religious beliefs. While both can raise awareness about potential dangers, it's crucial to approach them with a critical and informed perspective. Apocalyptic thinking can have both positive and negative consequences. On the one hand, it can motivate people to take action to address pressing issues like climate change or social inequality. It can inspire creativity, community building, and a renewed appreciation for life. On the other hand, it can lead to fear, anxiety, and even violence. It's all about how we process the anxiety. The study of apocalyptic thinking offers valuable insights into human psychology, culture, and history. It reveals our deepest fears, our hopes for the future, and our enduring fascination with the end of the world. By understanding the evolution of apocalyptic narratives, we can gain a better understanding of ourselves and the societies we create. If you're finding this exploration of apocalyptic ideas fascinating, be sure to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, which apocalyptic scenario do you find the most compelling, even if it's fictional? Looking back, we see that the apocalypse has rarely actually occurred in the literal, world-ending sense. What has happened is the continual restructuring of societies in the wake of major traumatic events. The apocalypse, then, becomes the Great Reset. It creates opportunities for those who have lost standing to rise to the top again. It is a massive, often bloody and terrifying reshuffling of the social deck. So what does the future hold for apocalyptic thinking? It's likely that we'll continue to see new narratives emerge, shaped by emerging technologies, social trends, and global events. The anxieties of today will become the apocalyptic tropes of tomorrow. The challenges of climate change, AI, and other emerging tech will continue to drive narratives in new directions. The core fear of humanity wiping itself out will most likely not change anytime soon. One interesting possibility is the rise of techno-apocalyptic narratives. These narratives explore the potential dangers of artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and other advanced technologies. They raise questions about what it means to be human in a world increasingly dominated by machines. They often imagine a world where the machines become the new gods, or where technology outpaces our ability to control it. It's also important to consider the role of individual agency in the face of potential disaster. Are we simply passive observers of our own demise, or do we have the power to shape the future? Apocalyptic narratives can empower us to take action, to build more resilient communities, and to work towards a more sustainable future. It is up to us to determine what kind of end we have, and to work to avoid it. Ultimately, the evolution of apocalyptic thinking reflects our enduring quest for meaning in a chaotic world. It's a way of grappling with our fears, exploring our hopes, and imagining different possibilities for the future. By understanding the power and the limitations of apocalyptic narratives, we can become more informed, engaged, and resilient citizens. We need to be critical of sensationalism. While it's important to be aware of potential threats, it's equally important to avoid succumbing to fear and panic. Sensationalism can distract us from the real work of addressing complex issues. We must be rational and pragmatic, and use our energies efficiently to protect our species and our planet. Apocalyptic thinking can also be a tool for social commentary. These narratives often critique existing power structures, expose social inequalities, and challenge dominant ideologies. By imagining the end of the world, we can gain a new perspective on the world we currently inhabit. In a way, every apocalypse is a revolution. The key to navigating the age of apocalyptic anxieties is to cultivate a sense of resilience, both individually and collectively. This means building strong communities, developing essential skills, and fostering a mindset of adaptability and innovation. It means being prepared, but not paralyzed by fear. So, as we conclude our journey through the evolution of apocalyptic thinking, I hope you've gained a new appreciation for the power and complexity of these narratives. They reflect our deepest fears and our greatest hopes. They challenge us to think critically about the future and to take action to create a better world. If you've enjoyed this exploration of apocalyptic themes, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content. And in the comments, I want to know, what's one thing you can do today to make the future a little brighter? The history of apocalyptic thought is, ironically, a testament to human resilience. Despite our anxieties about the end, we continue to adapt, innovate, and create. We find ways to cope with uncertainty, to build community, and to imagine a better future. Even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, we must never forget that. Ultimately, the apocalypse is not something that happens to us. It's something we create in our minds and in our actions. We have the power to shape our own destiny, to build a future that is more sustainable, more equitable, and more just. Let's use that power wisely. Be curious, think oddly,